please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
CNBC TV18's Anshu Sharma caught up with Ajay Singh, the CMD of SpiceJet, and began by asking him about SpiceJet's interest in Air India and whether the company will be bidding for it. Let's listen into that conversation.
I've always said that SpiceJet is too small an airline to bid for something as large as Air India. I think Air India is a wonderful asset, but it's too large for SpiceJet.
What's the plan with regards to overseas flying for SpiceJet? Where have you...
Well, as you know, we already fly to 7 countries. 25% of our capacity is on international. As the new planes come in and they give us higher range than the existing planes, of course, there will be many more flights to international destinations. We will be announcing those shortly.
And in terms of fleet expansion, how many ATRs do you plan to add?
Well, we don't plan to add any ATR. We do plan to add significant number of Boeing aircraft, the MAX aircraft, and we've ordered about 175 of those planes. In addition to that, we have ordered 25 of the Q400, Bombardier Q400 aircraft. Those will start to come in September of this year. So we expect that a significant number of those planes will be available by the end of next year.
So how many cities are left under Udaan 1, and what plans do you have for Udaan 2?
We have 2 cities left under Udaan 1 where airports were not ready. Adampur Airport is now operational, and we will be starting flights to that airport, which is basically, this is the airport for the city of Jalandhar. Kanpur Airport, there's still some work which is pending. We hope that that can be completed really soon. We expect that it should be completed by the end of this month, and if that can happen, we should start flights there also really soon. So the flights to Adampur will start in May, and we hope that we can start Kanpur as well by end of that month.
And under Udaan 2, where do you...
Udaan 2, we have several new sectors, and some of them are Darbhanga in Bihar, Pakyong in Sikkim, Lilabadi in Assam, Hubli in Karnataka, and Kannur in Kerala. So we are very excited about going to those cities.
All right, that's the top management of SpiceJet. But moving on, aluminium stocks will be in focus as the US has levied the harshest sanctions against Russia, leading to a sharp rise in LME prices. Nigel, what does this mean?
Well, you know, Ekta, over the last couple of days, aluminium prices are up by nearly around 7 to around 7.5%. I'll tell you why, because the US sanctions, they're going to impact some of these Russian businessmen, some of these Russian oligarchs, as well as some officials out there. And one such person that has come on that list is Oleg Deripaska. Now, Oleg Deripaska is the individual who runs RUSAL. Why is RUSAL important? That's because, in fact, it's one of the largest aluminium producers. And if you take a look at it, it produced roughly around 3.7 million tons in 2017. 3.7 million tons will mean nearly around 6% of the entire global production of aluminium. And if you take it ex of China, well, then it accounts for nearly around 13.5%. So it's fairly large in terms of disrupting the entire supply chain. More importantly, we have some notes that have come up today. We have Edelweiss. They are saying that, in fact, this is likely to complicate the entire supply chain. They're saying that not only is RUSAL the largest, one of the large aluminium producers, it complicates issues even more because Glencore holds nearly around 8.5% stake in RUSAL. And importantly, close to around 10% of Glencore's revenues as well coming from RUSAL. So that's going to be quite important going ahead. Edelweiss says that going ahead, they're expecting LME aluminium prices to hold out because of the supply disruption. The second factor they're talking about is we know that Eleanor's alumina refinery has been shut down. So that could support the input cost as well as low inventory. That's likely to support aluminium prices going ahead. In terms of an impact, Hindalco could be the stock that you should watch on. Yesterday as well, the stock was gaining in trade. It was up close to around 3.5%. The standalone business, it's integrated. So it's, it doesn't get impacted by what's going on in the globe. In fact, it could be a benefit going ahead. The Novelis operations, they could get hampered a tad bit because they are not integrated. So the input cost could go up. But over the longer term, even Novelis will be able to pass on this cost. Edelweiss has a buy rating on Hindalco, target price of around 325. Vedanta as well, they're likely to benefit because now they have a reason to pass on those higher alumina costs. Remember, Vedanta is not totally integrated in terms of alumina, so this could give them a reason to pass on that cost. Edelweiss has a buy rating with a target price of 425 rupees per share. Short point, Aluminium prices globally are up by nearly around 7%. Russian aluminium producer, that's Rusal, that could see some kind of disruption. That could disrupt the entire supply chain, and that's what could give support to stocks like Hindalco as well as Vedanta. We'll have to wait by to see what exactly is the alumina prices and what impact it can have on Nalco as well.
Okay. All right, Nigel, thanks very much for that. Well, we do have Wipro, which will be in focus today, as the company has said its profit will be impacted by 65 to 75 basis points as one of its telecom clients have filed for bankruptcy. Rima is here with more details. Rima.
Yes, Wipro is going to be impacted by client-specific issues in Q4. As you pointed out, one of its telecom clients has filed for bankruptcy. The company has not officially specified which company it is, but we understand it's likely to be Aircel. And Aircel going for bankruptcy is going to impact Wipro's profits by 65 to 75 basis points in Q4. Now, we don't know as of now if this is a one-time provision that the company will take in Q4 or there will be subsequent losses in the coming quarter. CLSA says in Q4, they see a margin impact of 70 basis points, but it is likely to impact growth in FY19 as well. And remember, this will be the second consecutive quarter where the IT majors' profits will be impacted because of client issues. The bankruptcy of British company Carillon had impacted their performance in Q3 as well. The company will be declaring numbers on the 25th. The street will keenly be watching whether the company can meet its guidance for Q4 given these issues, what the guidance for Q1 will be, and when will the company catch up to the industry growth rates. Morgan Stanley says that on the back of this development, the impact on the IT services revenue is going to be less than the impact on profitability, largely because provisions will impact their profits. So the company is still likely to report revenues within their guided band, but definitely negative for Wipro.
All right, Rima, thanks so much for that. Well, time for a quick break. Then up next, UBS raises concerns on the NPL issue on banks, cuts targets. Well, the banking space continues to be in focus. UBS, in fact, they have written a note on banks raising concerns on the NPA situation. They have cut the target estimates for various banks. Abhishek joins us early this morning to run us through all the details of that particular note. Hi, Abhishek. Good morning.
Good morning, Nigel. So what UBS has mentioned is that stress in the corporate portfolio has largely remained flat over March 2015 to now. So they expect 15.6% is the kind of stress that is there in the entire system, out of which, 3.6% is yet to be recognized. So they expect this 3.6% of the total loans to go under NPA over the next 3 to 4 months. So they have removed ICICI Bank from their APEC key call list, and they have retained their anti-consensus view on Yes Bank, SBI, PNB and IndusInd Bank. What they have mentioned is that this new rule from RBI, which says that banks have to report anything due from 1 to 90 days to the RBI, this can lead to earnings being lower on the 27% on the lower side. So they have cut their earnings estimate for FY19 on their list by anywhere between 0 to 50% for FY19 and 0 to 6% on FY20. So they have cut loan growth and earnings estimate, and they have lowered the target price anywhere between 0 to 10% for the banks under coverage. They have reduced the target price on ICICI Bank by about 8%, on Axis Bank by about another 8%, on SBI by 9%, and by Bank of Baroda another 8%, while they have increased the target price by 5.5% for IndusInd Bank. Back to you.
Okay, well, you're still tuned into Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. We have Manisha Gupta joining in to give us an update on what she's tracking from the commodity space this morning. Manisha, over to you.
Thank you so much for that. The Chinese premier conversation is what will impact the markets today, and we will be reading into the fine print of that. But at this point in time, of course, after nearly 2% gains for the crude oil prices overnight, the markets are trading quite volatile. It's choppy in sense of volumes as well. It also has to do with the Syrian, escalation of concerns there, the U.S. sanctions on Russia. You also have seen the U.S. rig count increase. So there is just so much happening in the global markets that the crude oil prices are trying to take into. Also, this is a week where you will also see the OPEC and the IEA monthly report coming in, where it will set a trend for this quarter in sense of the global demand and supply. So that's yet another thing that the markets will be reacting to. It also has to do with the International Energy Forum that starts in Delhi today. So you will have major oil producers talking about Indian demand and the global supplies as well. So there's plenty happening in this week where you will see strength coming in from. On the other side, while of course we have seen some more decline come in for the US dollar, and that in turn could be supportive for the metals as a space. In any case, today we have started a firm on Shanghai markets. Almost all the commodities are trading on the higher side. So whether it's iron ore prices, which is up by nearly a percentage point, you also have steel strength come back in case of steel, nickel, etc. Aluminum, of course, continues to be an outperformer after US has put sanctions on Russia. Rusal produces nearly 7% of aluminum in the global market, and that has been adding premium to aluminum prices, which gained 4% overnight and have started Asia on a stronger note even now.
All right, thanks so much, Manisha, for joining in and running us through all those details. Well, Mangalam as well joins in to tell us what's going on in the derivatives market. Hey, Mangalam.
Good morning, Nigel. So, yesterday when the markets moved, the Nifty moved almost a half century on the upside. What was really interesting is the intraday live indicator that we have. The Nifty futures premium, at one point, it was down to 7 points. That compares to about 21.25 points that we saw on Friday. It closed with a premium of close to 14 points, still lower than what we saw at in the previous trading session, telling you that yes, there was some selling at higher levels, primarily because could be some congestion at the 100 as well as the 50-day moving average plays at 10,430 and 10,460. Cash market flows were negative. The FIs, they sold 1,300 crores. The domestic institutional investors, they bought about 350 crores, but they were 1,000 crore too less as compared to the FII selling. In index futures, FIs continue to sell. They sold about 230 crores out there, added close to around 2,100 short contracts. So the FII long exposure now still stands at around that 19% mark, which is where it has been most through this series. In index options, though, there was some positive data coming by. The FIIs, they bought close to 1,500 crores, and that was directed towards purchase of long index calls. So close to 12,000 long index calls bought. That compares to the previous trading session where a lot of puts were bought on the lower end. The up move was also on account of some short covering in index calls. Close to 4,000 short calls were covered. The maximum open interest now stands at the 10,500 call. I will watch out for that. Some punt buying perhaps at the 10,700 call for a pop of 16 rupees. 10,300 and 10,400 puts saw some writing. Maybe the bulls believe that these are the marks that we can protect. 10,300 at the outset, and then at the lower end, 10,200 is something one can protect. The 10,300 call writers, they felt a little jittery, unwound some of their positions. 3 lakh shares out there were shed. In terms of stocks, watch out for Balkrishna Industries. That one saw some fresh long build-up after a 4-day run. And some consumption stocks, PVR, Raymond, as well as Page Industries, all of them going in with some long positions.
Okay, all right, Mangalam. Thanks very much for that. Well, on that note, we're going to wrap up this edition of Power Breakfast. We'll leave you with the picks of our bullseye contestants for day 2 of the week. Bazaar morning call just after a short break.
My first call today is a buy call in Trent Limited with stop loss below 354 for target around 396. My second pick is a buy call in Tata Global with stop loss below 269 for target around 300. My third call is a buy call in PVR Limited with stop loss below 1265 for target around 1358, and my last pick is a buy call in CESC with stop loss below 979 for target of 1067.
Allahabad Bank, buy with a stop of 51.5 for targets of 58. Bank of India, buy with a stop of 113 for targets of 128. PNB, buy with a stop of 103 for targets of 125. And HDIL, buy with a stop of 40 for targets of 48.
My first call is a buy call on Kesoram Industries. The stock closed at 129.35 today. It could be bought for an intraday target of 135 and a stop loss of 124 should be strictly kept on the stock. My second call would be a buy call on Cerebra Integrated. The stock closed at 59.40 today. It could be bought for a target of 63 and a stop loss of 56 should be strictly kept on the stock. My third call would be a buy call on Agritech India. The stock closed at 148 rupees today. It could be bought for a target of 154 and a stop loss of 142 should be strictly kept on the stock.